Welcome to another episode of Challenging the Norm. Here's an hers look at life and business with your hosts, Paul Snell and myself, Lindsey Burden. The podcast for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and business owners that want to experience success in their own way. Wrestling with the topics that matter and reality checking the latest trends in business. Paul works with business owners, showing them how they can take the stress out of transforming teams into performance powerhouses that love what they do, while I offer business coaching that empowers ambitious women in business to create financial abundance and a time-rich lifestyle without sacrificing their joy.
Well, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Lindsey, good to see you again. And I have to say, Lindsey, before you jump in, we're on a good one this time. This is going to be a bit of a special episode, and I will be telling everyone about it. So welcome, Lindsey. How's things with you before we start?
I'm really, really good. And there's a part of me that's thinking, we've been talking for half an hour already. We should have recorded that bit because that was good. It was juicy, because this is something that's really quite close to our heart that we're talking about today.
We are, and I think rather special, if I may say so. We're going to talk about a couple of concepts. This comes from a book called The Inside Out Revolution by Michael Neill. If you've never read it, let me tell you, go and have a read. It can be difficult to get in paperback, but it's on Audible, and Michael Neill is a really good presenter, so it's great to listen to as well. So either one of those will do, but trust us, try it, go and just give it a listen. It really is rather short. If you listen to books, this is under 4 hours. Normally books I listen to are like 16 hours long, so this is not a long one. But we're going to look at two concepts, aren't we, Lindsey? We're going to look at the nature of thought, and we're going to look at the idea that who we are is all we need to be. Yeah.
So, I'm writing those down.
Yeah, just in case you're listening, this is Lindsey writing.
Yeah, right now I'm writing that down because I think, sometimes we go off on a tangent, so I need to have a few notes.
And every chance we will this time. But what we are going to do, these are quite, we're going to call them deep concepts, but we're going to keep it really pragmatic to relate to what life and business is all about. This is what these podcasts are for, really.
Yeah.
But both of us have been talking about this, not just in the half hour that we haven't recorded before the episode, but in the weeks before when we first discussed the book. And so we are going to keep this fairly pragmatic, and we're going to try and link this to things that anyone who's listening will be able to relate to. So we're not going to get into any deep spiritual woo-woo stuff at this point. We are going to keep it fairly pragmatic because we want you to take away something that you can either use, understand, become aware of, or at least work towards. Whatever that may be for you, this is our purpose today. So, Lindsey, do you want to jump in with your perspective bit on this?
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned we're not going to get too woo, because I read the book, the physical book, because I got a copy, and to me, it's not woo.
Yeah.
To me, it's really practical.
Absolutely.
It's a great way of looking at yourself and how you see yourself in the world. And it was you that recommended the book to me. And for the first time, there were several things that happened. One, I bought a secondhand book. Never done that before in my life. And what was fascinating is somebody had already turned some of the pages and you got a highlighter pen out. It was still like new, apart from, a couple of highlighter pen marks, but it gave me permission to get my pen out. So I got my highlighter out, and I just found the whole idea and concept absolutely life-changing. And we were talking before we hit that record button. And I was saying, for me, it's really given me permission to stop seeking another way to heal myself, another way to be better, something else I need to do. And having been on this journey, it felt like saying, okay, I've arrived and now I get to choose. I've arrived and I get to decide how to live this incredible life. I get to choose my thoughts, how I feel about things, and the emotions. And I think that for me was a real, it wasn't just a light bulb, you know, it was like there was a thunderbolt and lights flashed and there were fireworks and everything else. It felt like I'd arrived at this point. Maybe I had to do some more of the woo work before, I don't know. But to me, it's not woo. It's just about deciding that you get to choose how you feel. You get to choose what you give your attention to.
Yeah.
The thoughts that you think. And the woo bit is really those thoughts that I think you're referring to, isn't it? That you can choose a new thought at any time.
Yes, I think to a degree that's true. And the understanding of thought, right? Where it's a topic well discussed by philosophers for hundreds and hundreds of years. But there is a reality to thought. There just is. And these things we're talking about today, we're not going to sit here and get scientific. We're not even going to sit here and prove anything. We are going to challenge people and point them in a direction and allow them perhaps to explore some of the things we're discussing today. But the nature of thought is fundamental. And if you think about that, interesting thoughts you think about, which we can do, the idea of thought being centered to everything is a reality. So let's try and explain what I mean by that, maybe. Michael Neill uses a phrase that we live in the feelings of our thoughts, not the feelings of our circumstances. And what he's saying there is, the true nature of who we are, we don't live an outside-in experience. Things that happen to us do not determine how we feel. And at this point, I can hear people going, come on, Paul, don't be ridiculous. Of course it does. It doesn't. It doesn't. How we think, the thoughts we have determine how we feel. What happens externally is just a thing. It's just a circumstance. It's just the way we experience the world.
Yeah.
But it doesn't determine how we feel. How we think is how we feel. And perhaps one good example, and it is a good example in a lot of personal development terms, we just need to think good thoughts. And again, you get people going, oh, goodness, Paul, you're not going to be another one of those jump up on the stage and wave your arms a lot. There is a reality to that, right? We can think good thoughts. The problem is, if that becomes the only way we tackle the things that happen to us, so the external circumstances, it will be utterly exhausting. Thinking good thoughts all the time, I actually don't know anyone who can do that. You know, they reckon on average we have between 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Good luck with changing those to good thoughts all the time. It's exhausting if you try. But what Michael Neill says is this: thoughts are thoughts. They come and go. They're transient. And we can decide which ones we hold on to.
Yeah.
What do we want to hold on to? That we want to hold on to the ones that make us feel better, that make us feel good. I gave you a story, Lindsay, before we started recording, which I'm happy to share because it's just who I am. Many, many, many years ago, in my early days of being a business owner, I ended up heavily in debt, 6 figures. I mean, it's a lot of money. It was a lot of money now. It was a lot of money then. And I was at wit's end, you know, my world was closing in and I felt so stressed, so anxious, so overwhelmed. I'm surprised I could function. And I remember being advised to call a certain debt helpline and they'll help. And in my head, it was all of this debt was destroying me. The phone calls that I got from people wanting money was destroying me. There was nothing left. It was dire. So I had nothing to lose but ring this number. And the number said, the woman said at the end of the phone, write a list of all your debts on a piece of paper with a pen, nothing special. Then I want you going to meet Mr. Bird. And I'm thinking, what is Mr. Bird going to do that can change this dire circumstance I'm in? And the fact I just feel ill. I just feel so ill. Anyway, I was told to drive down to Sunny Services on the M4. They're not called Sunny Services. It was just Sunny on the M4. And I met Mr. Bird, who must have been about 6'9" in his 70s. He was a huge man with grey hair, with white hair, actually. And he shook my hand and he looked to me and said, Paul, we are going to fix this today.